As dawn breaks over the 7 hills of Rome, the city slowly awakens to the rhythm of daily bread-making. In the streets below, the pister, the neighborhood baker, has already been at work for hours. His hands work methodically, kneading the same dough his father kneaded, and his father's father before him. The grinding of grain echoes softly through the stone walls. Wheat from Egypt, carried across the Mediterranean in ships that took weeks to arrive, now becomes flour through the steady turning of millstones. The baker's assistant pours water from clay amphorae, the same motion repeated hundreds of times each morning. Each loaf is marked with the baker's stamp, a legal requirement that few citizens think about, but one that connects every piece of bread to its maker. The ovens, built into the walls of the shop, radiate gentle heat that will warm the neighborhood throughout the day. Citizens begin to queue outside, their conversations a low murmur about the weather, the price of oil, the state of the roads. A senator's slave purchases 20 loaves for the household. A widow buys 1 small portion for herself. The transaction is brief, coins changing hands in an exchange that has happened countless times before. Water flows continuously through the Roman aqueducts, a sound so constant that most citizens no longer notice it. The Aqua Claudia, begun under Emperor Caligula and completed under Claudius, carries water 45 miles from the Anio Valley to the city. The engineering is precise but not dramatic. Stone channels guide the water at a gentle gradient, just enough to maintain flow, not enough to cause erosion. Every few miles, settling tanks allow sediment to sink to the bottom, where it will be cleaned out by maintenance crews following schedules established decades ago. In the distribution centers, bronze valves regulate the flow to different districts. The sound of water moving through pipes creates a gentle, rhythmic gurgling that residents of nearby insulae have learned to find soothing. Public fountains overflow continuously, the excess water flowing into the sewers that carry it away to the Tiber. A slave fills amphorae at the local fountain, the water splashing softly as it fills each vessel. The task takes precisely the same amount of time as it did yesterday, and as it will tomorrow. The fountain never runs dry, never runs too fast, never changes its steady, reliable rhythm. In the Subura district, the Foulones, the cloth cleaners, work in their shops with the same techniques passed down through generations. Urine, collected from public latrines, sits in large vats where it ferments into ammonia. The smell is sharp, but familiar to anyone who lives in the city. Workers trample the cloth in these vats, their feet moving in steady rhythm. The motion is repetitive, almost meditative. Step, step, turn on, step, step, return. The wool gradually becomes clean. The lanolin worked out by the alkaline solution and the constant motion of feet. After cleaning, the cloth is stretched on frames to dry. The fuller's assistant uses metal combs to raise the nap, creating the soft texture that wealthy Romans prefer. Each stroke of the comb is deliberate, covering the same small section of cloth repeatedly until the desired effect is achieved. The workshop operates on predictable rhythms. Cloth arrives dirty, is cleaned, dried, finished, and returned to customers. The process takes exactly 3 days. No more, no less. Customers know when to return for their togas, and the fuller knows exactly how much urine, how much water, how much time each garment requires. In a small room near the forum, a scribe carefully copies documents onto papyrus. His stylus moves slowly across the wax tablet as he composes the first draft, forming letters with practiced precision. Each character is deliberate, consistent with the hundreds of thousands of letters he has written throughout his career. The documents are routine: a contract for the delivery of olive oil, a receipt for the purchase of slaves, a letter from a merchant in Gaul to his partner in Rome. Nothing earth-shattering, simply the quiet paperwork that keeps the empire functioning. The scribe dips his reed pen into ink made from soot and gum, the same recipe used by scribes throughout the Mediterranean. The scratch of the pen on papyrus creates a soft, rhythmic sound as he transfers the text from his wax tablet to the permanent record. Between documents, he carefully sands the papyrus to create a smooth writing surface. The repetitive motion of the sanding block is soothing, preparing the surface for the next contract, the next letter, the next small piece of bureaucracy that keeps Roman society operating smoothly. When the ink is dry, he rolls the papyrus carefully and ties it with a cord. The document joins hundreds of others in the archive, where it will likely never be read again, but will remain as proof that the transaction occurred. The agreement was made. The law was followed. Outside the city, at a villa in the Alban Hills, the autumn olive harvest continues at its own unhurried pace. Workers gather the olives by hand, filling baskets with the small fruits that will become oil for lamps, cooking, and perfume. The olive press operates with simple mechanical precision. Olives are crushed under a heavy stone wheel, turned by a donkey walking in endless circles. The animal's hooves create a steady rhythm on the stone floor. Clip, 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 clip. Hour after hour, the crushed olives are pressed under turrets that gradually increase the pressure. Oil slowly drips into collection vessels, the sound of each drop marking time in the ancient way. The process cannot be rushed. The olives release their oil according to nature's schedule, not human impatience. Workers separate the oil from the water, using techniques their ancestors developed centuries ago. The oil floats to the top and is carefully ladled into amphorae. Each amphora holds exactly the same amount, bears the same identifying marks, will be stored in the same way as thousands of others. The villa's olive oil will be sold in Rome, carried by cart along roads that have seen this same cargo countless times. The merchant who buys it knows exactly what quality to expect, exactly how much to pay, exactly where to sell it in the city. As darkness falls over Rome, the vigils, the night watchmen, begin their rounds. Their footsteps echo softly on the paving stones as they patrol the streets, checking for fires, thieves, and other disturbances that might disturb the peace. Each watchman carries a lantern that casts a small circle of light on the stones before him. The flame flickers gently in the night breeze, creating shadows that dance on the walls of the buildings. The oil in the lamp burns steadily, requiring no attention for hours. The roots never change. From the fountain at the corner of the block, past the bakery, around the small temple, back to the fountain. The same path walked by the same men, night after night, year after year. Occasionally, they encounter a late returning citizen, exchange a brief greeting, and continue their patrol. The watchmen know every stone in their district, every doorway, every window. They can identify the sound of normal nighttime activity: a baby crying, a dog barking, the creak of settling timber, and distinguish it from anything that might require attention. Most nights, nothing happens. The vigils complete their rounds, mark their presence at the checkpoints, and return home at dawn. The city sleeps peacefully under their protection, safe in the knowledge that someone is walking the streets, carrying light through the darkness. In the massive granaries near the Tiber, grain from across the empire sits in carefully organized storage. Egyptian wheat, Spanish barley, African millet, each type sorted and stored according to regulations established by Augustus and refined by generations of administrators. The granary workers move through their tasks with methodical precision. They check moisture levels, rotate stock to prevent spoilage, and maintain careful records of what enters and leaves the facility. Each measurement is recorded on wax tablets, the numbers adding up to the vast calculations that feed the city. Rats are a constant concern, and cats prowl the granaries in an endless hunt. the soft sounds of their movement, paws on stone, the occasional scratch of claws on wood, provide a gentle soundtrack to the storage facility. The cats ask for nothing but shelter and the opportunity to hunt, payment enough for their services. Workers sift grain through baskets, removing chaff and debris in preparation for distribution. The motion is repetitive, almost hypnotic. Grain falls through the holes in the basket with a soft whisper, while the unwanted material remains above to be discarded. The granaries operate around the clock, but at a pace that never varies. Grain arrives by ship, is unloaded by crane, sorted by type, and stored according to systems that have proven their worth over decades. The process is efficient, but never hurried, reliable, but never exciting. In Trastevere, across the Tiber from the main city, a potter works at his wheel. The clay spins under his hands as he shapes it into the simple vessels that Romans use every day: cups, bowls, storage jars, oil lamps. The wheel turns at a steady pace, powered by the potter's foot on the treadle below. His hands guide the clay upward, creating walls of even thickness. The shape emerges gradually, the same forms he has created thousands of times before. Each piece is functional rather than decorative. Romans prefer pottery that serves its purpose reliably, rather than pottery that impresses with artistic flourishes. The potter's skill lies in creating vessels that will not crack, will not leak, will perform their intended function for years without failure. After shaping, the vessels are set aside to dry. The potter marks each piece with his stamp, a legal requirement that also serves as a guarantee of quality. His reputation depends on the reliability of his work, and he takes pride in the consistent standards he maintains. The kiln burns constantly, fired with wood that must be carefully managed to maintain the proper temperature. The potter monitors the fire throughout the day, adding fuel as needed, adjusting the airflow to ensure even heating. The process cannot be rushed. Clay must be heated and cooled according to its own schedule. In the upper floor of a house in the Palatine district, slave women work at their looms. The shuttle passes back and forth through the warp threads, creating the cloth that will become tunics, togas, and household linens for the senator's family. The rhythm of the loom is hypnotic. The lifting of the heddles, the passing of the shuttle, the beating of the weft thread into place. Each motion flows into the next in a sequence that has remained unchanged for generations. The women work in silence, their hands moving automatically through the familiar motions. The wool thread is spun to consistent thickness, dyed in colors that will not fade quickly. The quality of their work reflects on the household's reputation, so each thread is placed with careful attention. Light filters through the small windows, illuminating the work surface. When the natural light fades, oil lamps provide additional illumination, their steady flames creating a warm glow in the room. The work continues regardless of the time of day, driven by the household's need for finished cloth. The completed fabric is inspected carefully before being cut and sewn into garments. Every thread is examined, every knot checked, every imperfection corrected. The senator's family expects perfection, and the slave women take pride in delivering work that meets the highest standards. Along the Via Appia, maintenance crews work to keep the ancient road in good repair. The paving stones, laid with precision centuries ago, still carry traffic between Rome and the southern parts of the empire. Each stone was cut to fit exactly, creating a surface that has withstood decades of use. Workers examine the joints between stones, adding new mortar where the old has weathered away. The task requires no special skill, only patience and attention to detail. Each joint must be properly sealed to prevent water from undermining the road's foundation. The drainage ditches alongside the road are cleared of debris that has accumulated over the winter. Workers use simple tools, shovels, picks, baskets, to remove the mud and leaves that would otherwise divert water onto the road surface. Mile markers stand at regular intervals, their Latin inscriptions marking the distance to Rome. The markers are cleaned and maintained just like the road itself, ensuring that travelers can always determine their location. The numbers never change, providing a reliable reference point for navigation. The road crew works at a steady pace, covering perhaps a mile of road each day. They know their section intimately, can predict where problems will develop, understand how weather affects different portions of the road. Their work is unglamorous, but essential, keeping the arteries of the empire flowing smoothly. In the library of Trajan, scrolls are carefully maintained and organized. The librarian moves through the stacks, checking that each scroll is properly stored and protected from moisture and insects. The work is quiet, methodical, driven by the need to preserve knowledge for future generations. Each scroll is cataloged according to a system that allows scholars to locate specific texts quickly. The catalog itself is written on tablets that are regularly updated as new works are acquired or old ones are retired. The librarian's handwriting is precise, consistent, designed for clarity rather than beauty. Scribes work at desks in the reading room, copying texts that are in danger of deterioration. Their work is painstaking, requiring absolute accuracy in reproducing every word, every mark of punctuation. A single error could change the meaning of a text, so each line is checked multiple times. The scrolls contain works of history, philosophy, literature, and science. Some are consulted regularly by scholars, while others sit undisturbed for years. The librarian treats each scroll with equal care, understanding that knowledge once lost is difficult to recover. Readers sit at tables, unrolling scrolls carefully to avoid damaging the papyrus. The reading room is kept deliberately quiet, with conversations conducted in whispers. The atmosphere encourages contemplation and study, providing a peaceful environment for intellectual work. As the day draws to a close, the Temple of Vesta maintains its eternal flame. The Vestal virgins tend the fire with the same devotion their predecessors have shown for centuries. The flame must never be allowed to die, for it represents the continuity of Roman civilization itself. The fire burns with a steady, gentle light that illuminates the circular temple. The fuel is carefully selected wood that burns cleanly, producing minimal smoke. The Vestals add new fuel at regular intervals, maintaining the flame at a constant level. The temple is swept and cleaned each day, the ritual performed with the same motions in the same order. Every surface is dusted, every offering arranged properly, every detail attended to with reverence. The routine never varies, providing structure and meaning to the sacred work. Citizens come to the temple throughout the day, offering prayers and small gifts. The Vestals receive these offerings with quiet dignity, understanding their role as intermediaries between the Roman people and the gods. The prayers are usually simple requests for health, prosperity, and protection. The eternal flame flickers gently in the evening breeze, its light reflecting off the marble walls of the temple. The sound of the fire is barely audible, a soft crackling that blends with the quiet footsteps of the Vestals as they move about their duties. As night falls over Rome, the city settles into sleep. The flame continues to burn, watched over by the Vestals who have devoted their lives to this sacred duty. The light will still be burning when the sun rises, just as it has burned for generations, just as it will burn for generations to come. The eternal flame represents the eternal city, constant, reliable, enduring. Like the daily routines of bakers and scribes, potters and weavers, it provides continuity in a world of change. Rome sleeps peacefully, secure in the knowledge that some things never change, some traditions never fade, some flames never die.